Good morning, everybody. I hope you all are doing well among all this craziness, and that you're, trying to stay positive as best as you can. And then we're also, we're hoping that we can be back together and have life go back to normal as soon as possible. What I'm hoping to do is to be able to record a book each day for everybody, and then your teachers will share the links that I'm going to post for YouTube with you, so that you'll have a familiar face reading a story to you each day, at least Monday through Friday. That's my plan. Apologize up front if it doesn't work out. Anyways, the book that I'm going to share with you guys today is a book about books. I figured I'd start there. I'm hoping that you guys are continuing your reading, whether it's on Mayan or books at your home or the public library, the electronic books. But today's book is called The Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lessmore. And it's a really, really good story. There were several years ago that it was one of the ones that I read to the classes. And I'll tell you about a video of the book when I'm done. So I hope you enjoy this one. It's one of my favorites. So, The Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lessmore. It's written by William Joyce. Morris Lessmore loved words. He loved stories. He loved books. Kind of reminds me of me. His life was a book of his own writing, one orderly page after another. He would open it every morning and write of his joys and sorrows, of all that he knew and everything that he hoped for. But every story has its upsets. One day the sky darkened, the winds blew and blew and blew, till everything Morris knew was scattered, even the words of his book. We're not going through a tornado or anything like that, but it does have to kind of remind you a little bit about what we're going through right now. Every story has its upsets. Right now we're living through one, kiddos. He didn't know what to do or which way to go, so he began to wander and wander and wander. Then a happy bit of happenstance came his way. Rather than looking down, as had become his habit, Morris Lessmore looked up. And drifting through the sky above him, Morris saw a lovely lady. She was being pulled along by a festive squadron of flying books. Morris wondered if his book could fly. So I picked one up. Nope, it couldn't. It would only fall to the ground with a depressing thud. The flying lady knew Morris simply needed a good story, so she sent him one of her favorites. The book was an amiable fellow and urged Morris to follow him. Look closely, who's that guy? See Humpty Dumpty? Humpty Dumpty had his fair share of troubles too. The book led him to an extraordinary building where many books apparently nested. Where do you think that might be? What building do you know that has lots and lots of books nesting? I hope you said the library. Morris slowly walked inside and discovered the most mysterious and inviting room he had ever seen. It was filled with the fluttering of countless pages, and Morris could hear the faint chatter of 1,000 different stories, as if each book was whispering an invitation to adventure. Then his new friend, Humpty Dumpty, flew up to him and landed on his arm. It held itself open as if hoping to be read. The room rustled to life, and so Morris's life among the books began. Now you can even just see his character change from the sad face of looking down and being sad and depressed, and now all of a sudden you see the smile that the books are bringing to his face. Morris tried to keep the books in some sort of order, but they always mixed themselves up. The tragedies needed cheering up, and so they would visit the comedies. The encyclopedias, weary of all the facts, would relax with the comic books and fictions. All in all, it was an agreeable jumble. Morris found great satisfaction in caring for the books. He gently would fix those pages with fragile bindings and unfold the dog-eared pages of others. He became sort of a book doctor. Sometimes Morris would become lost in a book and scarcely emerge for days. Some of my older kids out there, when you guys pick up one of those chapter books, I'm sure you understand. You start reading and you just don't want to put it down until you find out what happens in the end. I can relate. And there he is, day after day, sucked into a book. Morris liked to share those books with others. Sometimes it was a favorite that everyone loved, and other times he found a lonely little volume whose tale was seldom told. Everyone's story matters, said Morris, and all the books agreed. You can see that's kind of neat what the illustrator did here with color. After they got a new book, they turned the characters in color. Those that are waiting for a wonderful story to be put into their hands are being shown in black and white. At night, after all the stories that needed telling had been told and everyone had settled down to their proper places on the shelves, the great big dictionary would get in the last word, the Z's, as they fell asleep. It was then that Morris Lessmore would once again write in his own book. He wrote of his joys and sorrows, of all that he knew and everything that he hoped for. The days passed, and so did the months. You can see Morris changing over time. And then years and years. And Morris Lessmore became stooped and crinkly. But the books never changed. Their stories stayed the same. Now his old friends took care of him the way he had once cared for them. And they read themselves to him each night. Now this is when Mrs. Kirkner has to try not to cry while I'm reading to you. And then one day he filled the last page in his book, and he looked up and said with a bittersweet sigh, "I guess it's time for me to move on." The books were sorry, but they understood. Morris put on his hat, and he got his cane, and he went to the door. He turned and smiled and then waved goodbye. "I will carry you all in here," he said, and pointed to his heart. The books waved their pages, and Morris Lessmore flew away. And as he flew, he changed back to the way he had been that long ago day when they all first met. You see, he's a young man again. But our story doesn't end there. The books were quiet for a while, and then they noticed that Morris Lessmore had left something behind. "It's his book," said his oldest friend, Humpty Dumpty. Inside was Morris's story, all of his joys and sorrows, all that he knew and everything that he hoped for. And then the books heard a small, expectant sound. And there in the doorway was a little girl. She looked around with wonder, and then something fantastic happened. Morris Lessmore's book flew up to her and opened its pages and landed right there on her arm. The little girl began to read, and so our story ends just as it began. With the opening of a book. And that is the end. I hope you guys like that one. My daughter gave me a thumbs up when she saw me pull this one out, so she remembers this one when she was little. But I told you before when we first started, the cool thing is that this is a short video that if you go onto YouTube and either just YouTube and put the fantastic flying books of Mr. Morris Lessmore, you can look for the video, or here's the link that I copied here, and you can watch it. It's about a 15-minute video, and you can see the story come to life. So you can actually see the fluttering of the pages, and there's a nice musical soundtrack that goes behind it, and you can see the retelling of this wonderful book. So I hope you enjoyed it. Look forward, like I said, to seeing you guys again, and I'll have another book for you tomorrow. Happy reading. Bye.